From the minute Concord's gameplay was announced, it has had a mixed, if not mostly negative reception, made evident by the most recent trailer from the most recent State of Play, which has 1.1 thousand likes with 13,000 dislikes. Most of these comments alluding to the opinion that the game seems to be a soulless 5v5 multiplayer cash grab on PlayStation's part. Personally, I think the 5v5 multiplayer genre is really unique. I mean, name for me just a single other game that pins 5 people up against 5 others, and each character has unique abilities related specifically to that character. Having trouble? No, you are not, because it's been done already, and it's been successfully executed. This genre goes as far back as Team Fortress, which was released in 1999, this genre being a class-based shooter genre. But let's talk about some more recent examples. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I'm going to cherry pick some ones that just come to the top of my mind whenever I think about this genre of game. First, in 2016, there was Overwatch, which had over 7 million players in its first week of launch. Overwatch really rooted itself in the esports scene and continued to see success there for quite some time, even leading the game to broaden its horizons in adapted media such as a comic series and an animated film. Then in 2020, there was the free-to-play Valorant, which has since been nominated and won several game awards, including Best Esports Game and Best Live Streaming Game. It actually has the second highest peak Twitch viewership at 1.73 million players. And while this did not get a console release, it is getting one. The beta happened recently, and from what I've heard, it was pretty decent. Now let's talk about a less successful example of this genre. In February of 2024, the Square Enix published game Foam Stars released free to all PlayStation Plus members, and by all accounts, this game is kind of flopping due to players falling off, which I can understand because while I thought it was a decent enough time, it was definitely a weird game, and despite the devs not wanting you to call it Splatoon, it was kind of Splatoon, and Splatoon already exists. On top of this is a $30 game with extremely aggressive monetization, and in the day and age of Fortnite, Apex Legends, Valorant, Warzone, and other free-to-play games, that monetization strategy and the little reward you got for just playing the game wasn't enough for the small player base to stick with it. I liked Foam Stars, but only for a night or two, then I was ready to move on to something else. I actually want us to keep Foam Stars in mind as we talk about Concord. And then just finally, one more example for this hero shooter genre that I'd like to bring up is that in the same State of Play that Sony showed the Concord trailer, they also showed a trailer for Marvel Rivals, a 6v6 hero shooter. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that the market is fairly saturated with this hero shooter genre, and the release of this game makes Sony look kind of desperate to try and cash in on the Overwatch Valorant money by releasing their PS5 and PC exclusive 5v5 shooter, Concord. I suppose a case could be made that the genre hasn't really taken off on consoles yet, but the point is that we as gamers already have plenty of choices to pick from if we wanted to play one of these types of games. I know they're all different and they can coexist, but they're games cut from the same cloth, essentially. Speaking for myself, when I watched the first trailer during the State of Play, I immediately dismissed it. I'm gradually falling off the multiplayer PvP train as I get older, wanting to play either a PvE game with my friends or a single-player game that I can actually complete and not just spend countless hours in achieving some new cosmetics that ultimately don't really matter. So I was not going to play this game. I was not going to pre-order it, and I definitely wasn't going to try the beta. But then Sony announced that the beta would be free to all PlayStation Plus members. So I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And I did. I downloaded it and played it for what felt like a very long time, but looking back, it was actually only 5 hours. And I think the best way to let you know my thoughts and preview this game is to just give you my feelings and thought processes as I played Concord. When you first boot up the game, you're greeted with 2 opening cinematics, and I think these cinematics might end up being one of the best parts of the game, which might give you a hint as to how I feel about the main game. but genuinely they do look pretty good. Like on a level with some of the best AAA cinematics that I've seen, like God of War, definitely better than Spider-Man, but they're not rendered in-game, so there is that difference. They're just pre-rendered cinematics. So while they do look impressive, I didn't have my jaw on the floor going, look how good these are. They just look incredible. I was like, okay, they put some real effort into how these look here, and it paid off. But then the character interactions happen, and these are fine. It's like an alternate Guardians of the Galaxy with how all the characters interact with each other. You've got a leader person who's kind of funny sometimes. You've got the tech head character, the cool-headed badass character, the brute dummy that's supposed to be funny. All of these people are really in the game, and you can immediately tell what they're going for. It's on theme with the rest of this game, which is that it's not bad, it's just not unique. I've seen these characters before, so nothing is surprising here, and it doesn't feel original. The cutscenes themselves tell a story, but with not a lot of context for new players, they didn't make much sense. The first cinematic is like the crew gathered around and they're like, we're never going to be free gunners. Then this computer's like, yo, congrats, you are free gunners. And they're all like, what? That lasts like a minute. That's seriously what the clip is, and they're like all excited about it, but we don't know what free gunners are. We don't know what that means. The second is about some galactic map that they get now that they're free gunners, but again, it doesn't make much sense because you're not told what this map does. There is a section for it on the main menu of the beta, but it's disabled, so it still doesn't make much sense or really mean anything to a new player. Maybe in the main game, we'll get more of an idea what this map does, but it felt really out of place in the beta, and I think they could have just skipped this cinematic and dropped me straight in. But they're not going to skip this cinematic. In fact, they're not going to skip any cinematics. They're going to do the opposite of skip cinematics. Say cinematics again. Something they said in the Sony State of Play was that they're excited to tell the story through weekly cinematics. That's a lot, and I don't really see the appeal yet, especially when the characters are neither appealing either physically or personality-wise, nor do they have a compelling story. Right now, to everyone, it's just like this random group of people who are free gunners and are fighting for some reason, and there's a map involved. That's not a great setup to be advertising weekly cinematics and to try and hook new players to be invested. But whatever, that's the story, it's not the gameplay. So how is the gameplay itself? It's good, mostly. I've played this game for around 5 hours now, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but as I said earlier, it feels like a long time. I've played enough to get a good sense for every character and play each game mode and map multiple times. I've learned the routes and healing spots of all the maps, so I'm familiar with how this game works. I'm level 11, and most people I play with are not higher than level 8 or 9, a lot of players actually being even lower than that. Right now, in the game, there are 16 heroes, or free gunners as the game calls them, each falling into their own class: Ranger, Warden, Haunt, Breacher, Anchor, Tactician. What? If you're confused about those, don't worry, you're not alone in that. Essentially, these classes are just like assault, control, healer, tank, that sort. I don't know why they didn't just call them these classes. I guess they needed to try, and again, be unique, but it's not. We've seen this before. Anyway, each free gunner has its own set of unique abilities, and some of these are pretty fun. For example, one of my favorite characters is this Nightcrawler-like character called Itzy? That is the real name. Actually, let's just take a moment and pause what we're talking about right now and read all these names and look at the characters, because before recording and writing this, I hadn't read most of these names and decided to do that because the character design is very important to this game, so let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so most people are on the same level, if not higher than me. Okay, let's go. You've got Teo Haymar, Star Child, Imari, who is just look at Imari, look at this character design. Good night. Lark, which is like this weird plant person. Roka, which I actually kind of liked, thought Roka was cool. Linux, Jabali, No, not. Okay, okay. I had to actually quit and go back. So let's cut the clip here and go back so we can look at the rest of the characters. All right, so I thought 11 was high, but I guess I was just wrong. Maybe I should take that out. Anyway, where were we? Jabali, Davirs, whatever. Kips is kind of cool actually. Vale, that's fine. One off, I guess. Itzy, Daw, Duchess, Baz. Okay. So yeah, those are all the characters. As you can tell, probably from my reaction, I don't think the character design is great. Some of them are okay. My favorite being the Rocket Girl one. I already forgot her name. None of them are stellar, and a lot of them just have this uncanny valley feel to them. I don't think this is going to pull a Sonic movie on us and majorly rework one character, let alone all 16 of them. So I think these are pretty much the ones and the designs we're going to be stuck with upon full release of the game. Real quick, as a side note, at the time of recording, I did want to record more gameplay of this, but the servers are actually down for maintenance, which is fine. That's expected in a beta. I'm not upset about that. But just know you're going to be watching some repeat gameplay. And I know I'm just okay at the game. I'm not incredible. I die a lot. I don't go on any massive kill streaks. Particularly, I use this character called Baz, again with the purple afro pigtails, to complete a daily challenge, which is to get melee kills. Baz is just the best character for it. I'm not good with her. As soon as I'm done with the challenge, I switch back to Itzy, which is that Nightcrawler character that I thought was fun. As you watch the gameplay, you can probably tell what some of the abilities are of Itzy, which is you can throw out an orb and then teleport to it upon second activation. The secondary ability, you throw out this orb, which makes the enemy player's gun malfunction, which I couldn't figure out what that meant because I would hit people with it as they were firing their gun and it seemed like it did nothing. But if the ability does hit someone, the orb then returns back to you and supercharges your weapon, making it more powerful. You can dodge, leaving a clone of yourself, which can throw off the enemy player. All of these abilities combined make it really fun and enjoyable to play as this character. As you can probably tell from the gameplay as well, each free gunner also has their own primary, which adds to the variety of what kind of playstyle you like. There's a sniper class, which I actually like as well, a shotgun class, which I thought was fun too, a grenade launcher class, which was okay. Some weird guns as well, like this plant gun that you shoot and it kind of zigzags along. I couldn't really figure that one out. And then there's just some standard primaries like pistols, ARs, that sort of thing. I don't think I hated any characters or free gunners' abilities besides the Rocket Girl character, which is funny because that's the person I liked the design of the most. But that character was my least favorite, and I'm willing to chalk that up to me not liking any character really for not being good with said person's abilities yet. I do think there is some tweaking that needs to be made to level the playing field for everybody. You'll see some characters get picked pretty consistently because they are pretty powerful, and then you'll see some already kind of get ignored as they get picked. But again, this is the beta, so I'm okay with it. It seems like balance needs to happen, and that's why they're doing this. So yeah, I thought all the free gunners were fun to experiment with. Getting familiar with their guns, abilities, then moving on to the next character was genuinely a good time for me. The first night that I played this, I actually stayed up till like 1 a.m. And that's because I just thought I was having a lot of fun enjoying and learning each new character and what I liked and didn't like. The gunplay also felt good enough. I'll be honest, I think it's hard today to make a bad first-person shooter. There are just enough gold standards like Doom, Halo, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Valorant, the list can continue to go on, that people should know how to make a good first-person shooter. These devs were apparently some ex-employees of Bungie, the makers of Destiny, and I think Destiny shooting is also good, so not surprisingly, it's good here too. Nothing that blew me away, but it's decent enough. It's a lot like Destiny, actually, down to the little hover jump that Destiny has, some double jumps. It feels a lot like that game. One thing I also noticed that I thought is fun is that while the game is very familiar in its shooting, I do like this like rainbow synth vibe it's going for. That felt unique enough. Like, I really enjoy the color palette of the ship as it like pops in and you boot up into a new game. The menu, even like there's just like little like that's almost exactly how it sounds like. So you know how that sounds. Anyway, there's like that sound in the game that it does whenever you load into a new multiplayer game. I think that sounds cool. I really enjoy just like the vibe that this game is going for. So you'll know what I'm talking about when you play the game. And the first night I played this game, I loved it. I got a feel for all the characters, and I put it down again at 1 a.m. The next day, or rather later that same day, I was genuinely excited to boot up and play Concord. Then I started playing, and I was kind of bored. There are 2 game playlists, what I'm going to call them, in this beta. You have your standard respawn playlist, a game mode where you respawn as your player, which is like team deathmatch, and in this gameplay, kill confirmed. Then you have your round-based no respawn playlists, so you don't respawn in each round. You have 1 life. This is like control and capture the flag. You might say it's just the beta, they'll add more. And yeah, this is 2 of 4 of the mode selections that are in the main game. The other 2 are crossed off, but I have to imagine one of those other 2 is going to be like a ranked mode that will incorporate some of the already existing game modes into it. It's just ranked. Real quick, I have apparently reached the clip limit of this, so if I stumble over my words, I can't cut it anymore. It's going to be a little bit more rogue from here on out. So yeah, I hope they do add more fun game modes like domination or even search and destroy maybe. I'm not sure if any amount of the game modes will change the fun factor. It's a good, competent shooter, but again, this genre has been done before, and I've played a lot of shooters, primarily Apex Legends. So I predict that this game may struggle with player retention unless it's really rewarding for you to continue to play the game. Speaking of Apex Legends, the rewards you get for playing are not great. There are a lot of them, and the game is down for maintenance right now, so I was going to put a clip of myself walking through it. I can't do that anymore, but let's just talk about from what I remember. There's gloves, trinkets, which are like these little ornaments for your weapons, victory and defeat poses, gun skins. They're all unique to each individual character. It's a lot of the same customization stuff that you get in Apex Legends, but kind of worse, like on a more minute level that I don't care about, like guns. That's saying something, because I think Apex has some of the worst monetization of any game that I've played, and it leaves a lot of room for grindy, worthless cosmetics with expensive microtransactions, which I might be okay with, but this game will not be free to play when it releases. It will cost $40. And that's my biggest worry with this game thus far. How they handle monetization and reward the player to play their game and make it worth their time will make or break this game. Based on what I saw and experienced through unlocks, this game will absolutely probably not be worth your time. I'm sure there will be some battle pass as well, that they'll maybe throw in the first one for free, but will you have to pay extra for the ones after that or even the first one? And if so, how much will it cost? How fast can you earn cool rewards if you don't want to pay any extra for the $40 game that you already bought? I know this is a beta, and so a lot of this is speculation, so we'll just have to wait and see how the main game handles this stuff, but I was a little hesitant and worried when I saw all of the customization options. Recently, Sony experienced a massive success in the live service category with the release of Helldivers 2. I've played a lot of that game as well, and the monetization is set up very favorably for players. For example, you can find paid currency in the game, and if you want to buy a cosmetic, at the most you'll spend like $5 on an outfit. And you get a whole outfit for that, by the way, which is equipable on any character of that class, not just some new pair of gloves for one specific character. The CEO has actually said this about how they handle in-game spending for Helldivers 2, quote, "You have to earn the right to monetize," end quote, and Concord does not feel like it's earned the right to monetize on top of being a $40 game right now. So again, this is all speculation, like I said earlier. I've seen these customization tabs before in Apex Legends, and that monetization is terrible. I've spent money on that game too because I had a lot of fun and it was free to play. This game is not set up to earn the monetization of players right now. I know I've already said that, but it's set up to be very predatory and have minimal rewards for the time players put into it. The shooting may be good, the character abilities are cool, and the cutscenes look nice, but with the mix of bad/laughable character design, uninteresting characters, and consequently uninteresting cinematics, the bad taste that the reward system gave me with the setup for awful microtransactions, right now, I just don't think Concord will be worth your time or money when it releases at full price. At the top of the video, I mentioned Foam Stars. While Concord does have better mechanics than Foam Stars, I think that, I'm worried it will fall into the same pitfalls that Foam Stars did. A steeply declining player base for a game that already has some good competition and unfair microtransactions, when the game will not be free upon entry. I've seen talk that Sony should release this game free to play for all PlayStation Plus users, and I agree, but I'm not sure that will be enough. Historically, if they do that, the game is only available for that month, the first month that they release it, which helps boost the initial player count, but it does little to help sustain the player base or keep it growing. Again, like Foam Stars. Look at Foam Stars as an example. But regardless, I don't think Sony will do this because they're already taking pre-orders for Concord and it releases very soon on August 23rd. The odds kind of seem stacked against Concord, and for good reason, but we'll have to wait and see if Concord will emerge as another Overwatch success or succumb to the steep competition that's already free to play currently.